Hey guys, it's Up Tilt Down Tilt Dare, and I'm here with a new microphone. So anyways, I know what you're here for, RPG horror stories, so let's get right into it. Again, these are ones that I have just found and have not read, I have no experience with. So the first one we have is Typical That Guy Kills Relationship Live. Warning, this is not safe for work, so you know, just throwing that out there. I've been around for a while, but I never thought I'd experience a story like this myself. It's fairly long, TLDR at the end. The cast. That guy playing an AT rogue human, that guy's girlfriend, who I'll refer to as GF for this, playing an elven moon druid, and a paladin and wizard who aren't relevant in the story. And of course, myself, a forever DM who agreed to run a few games to a few old friends during quarantine. Oh, so this was pretty recent. Oh yeah, this was uploaded a day ago. The game already started weird. 2 of the 4 players never played before, and while they were getting the hang of it, that guy was already making sure to get on my nerves. He would constantly roll without modifiers or announcing what he was rolling for. If it was low, he'd say never mind and refuse to tell what he had planned. If it was high, or especially if it was a nat 20, he'd describe something stupid, like during a meeting with a rich noble, he rolled a nat 20 and said he wanted to pickpocket the noble while they were talking. I was getting more and more annoyed, but the others didn't seem to mind, so I figured we'll press on, and I'll talk with him after the session. Then, it happened. They were ambushed by a group of bandits, and after a few rounds of combat, the remaining 3 bandits, 1 female and 2 males, surrendered. They tied them up and began asking questions. After a few minutes of interrogation, that guy asked whether the quote-unquote bandit chick was hot. With a hint of worry, I told him they didn't pay much attention to hygiene at the bandit camp, so she was rugged and had a tired look to her. To this, he responded with something so misogynistic I wouldn't say to a stranger on the internet, but he did say it in a video chat with his GF. The only reaction she had in store was an ominous wow. That guy proceeded to cut the throats of the 2 male captives and quite graphically described how his character forced himself upon the last bandit, giving attention to every last detail. GF disconnected from the call, and soon the session ended. I didn't feel like talking to him anymore, so I decided to let it go. Okay, so with the editing I did, I read everything normally and I totally skipped over that on the last part. I was reading the last line, and I was like, wait a minute, when did this happen? What? And I scrolled back up, and now I'm in a little bit of disbelief and disgust and wow, okay. At first I was gonna be like, oh well, you know, it's not too bad because I don't see why they got into an argument about it if the guy was just asking if the girl was hot. I mean, yeah, that's fucked up, but it's like, I don't think it's anything to leave the house over. But no, this is some sort of fantasy being leaked out. Yeah, anyway, okay, so far this guy isn't winning any bonus points with anybody, I don't think, especially not his girlfriend in this situation. Speaking of, a day later, GF asked whether that's normal in games because she enjoyed most of the game, but that guy was a creepy aspect. I assured her that it's not usually like that, and I agreed to run a game to her and a few of her friends without that guy. She was in a different house when that game happened, so I was already 90% sure they had a major argument, but I didn't feel like asking, and she wasn't keen on talking about it either. About a week after the first game, that guy messages me that he found another player to replace quote-unquote that bitch because she didn't want to play anymore. Then he started calling me names when I said I won't continue that game. But thanks to him, I found another fun group to run for, and now I have a horror story myself. Too long, didn't read. That guy degrades women. Ooh, wait, oh. Oh, I missed a whole bit. Oh, I jumped a whole paragraph. Wait, I gotta scroll back up, hold on. TLDR, that guy degrades women, forces his way onto an NPC while his girlfriend is in a video call, and she breaks up with him soon after. Alright. Alright. I see why I was NSFW now. Now, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but I do believe we discussed that in role-playing games such as D&D, a lot of time new players, which I'm assuming the guy was, and by the way, I'm no means defending him, but I am prefacing this by saying a lot of new players get that power fantasy of they can do whatever they want with no real life repercussions. They can finally act out the stuff they want to do. They want to steal, they want to like kill people, they want to kidnap their neighbor's puppy and raise it for itself and name it like Razorback or whatever. And that's, you know, if that's the group you're running, that's fine. But I feel whenever it comes to situations where someone can really have some horrible trauma for situations like these, it kind of has to go out the window. Or even if people don't have trauma, I don't think anybody's comfortable. It's weird that right now we're a society that's more comfortable with murder than we are forcing yourself onto someone. And that's not a bad thing, but because of that idea, pretty much everybody's uncomfortable with you doing something like that. So I don't understand why you would do it. And of course, there are people that have had trauma with things like real life murder and horrible situations. And so it would not surprise me if there have been games where killing isn't allowed because someone's uncomfortable with it. So instead, they just knock the enemies out. In fact, that sounds like a good idea for a campaign, actually. You can't murder anybody. The whole point is you have to knock them out. That'd be interesting. But anyway, yeah. Horrible, horrible game. Okay, this one is called Player Forces Ultra Power Gaming. Fails at it and cheats. How do you fail at power gaming? Hold on here. Wait. I mean, is he told no, or does he just not know what he's doing? Alright, whatever, let's get into it. Hello everybody, smiley face, oh that's cute. If read or better heard a few posts from here on YouTube, especially on Crit Crab's channel, thanks man. Oh shit, am I stealing Crit Crab content? Oh no. I actually really like Crit Crab, go subscribe to him if you haven't already. But I'm assuming if you're on this channel, then you already have. It's not a particularly grueling experience, but in a long career of role-playing with thankfully few really shitty moments, it seriously stuck with me. So a friend from my college major asked if I was interested in joining their group. The system was The Dark Eye, which is the most common one here in Germany. Oh, we're getting German stories? This is crazy, I love it. They play an old edition that I didn't really like, but hey, more games. I love this person's charisma, and their grammar is perfect. It's beautiful. The game was 5 people. I will give them old school German names for your enjoyment. Oh my gosh, it's my time to butcher, baby, with my American ignorance. Kunigunde, me, Reinhard, Gunther, Alfred, and Gotz, who invited me. I knew Reinhard too. Gunther seemed chill, and Alfred is actually one that I kept in contact with the most after this mess. So, first session with me and I picked a ranger hunter dude to play. I worried he would be a bit grimdark and edgelord for an introduction, but I really wanted to play him again, and he was generally not a difficult character to get into groups. Turns out, he was actually the most down-to-earth practical character concept in the group. Everyone was kind of weird. Alfred's character was pretty functional, if weird, but 2 of the others were super edgy, incongruous, and very aggressive power fantasies. I'm transgender. I played a woman basically as therapy for years, and all of them were some kind of power fantasy. If I call you out on that shit, it's bad. Alright, that's what, I think everybody plays a character just to have a power fantasy, I mean, even, the Chad that is up till down till dare, even he kinda has characters that are pretty Gary Sue, if you will. Gotz's character was the worst, unsurprisingly. He played a male witch, which is already a pet peeve of mine in that system for being way too prevalent. Witches are a 99% female community, and nobody ever makes that matter for their male character. He didn't either. He was also very extremely special in every way. Okay, I don't really see the issue with that. I mean, I guess if you're really going by the lore, like rules as written, this is the lore 99%, and you'd have to roll like a percentile and get 100 to play a male, that's one thing, which they could be doing. I can't judge because I hate traditional forest elves that are all about nature and love and shtick like that. I also don't like Tolkien-esque fantasy, so what do I know? He had an extra special familiar, some special items you usually don't get until much later in the character progression, and of course, the attention-seeking, only player attitude, and constant complaints about the restrictive rules to match, especially about any limits on the expression of his awesomeness. At the same time, he clearly thought of himself in real life as this mild-mannered, well-spoken, chill guy. Their use of the rules was also a bit odd, but nothing you couldn't groove with. Gotz was annoying, and Gunther was leaning a bit towards toxic. Whoa, wait, hold on. Gotz was annoying, and Gunther was leaning a bit towards toxic, forceful onto people, male fantasies, but nothing too bad. This is the second story in a row that has already mentioned this. This is a lot more common than I first thought, apparently. It was fun and Reinhardt handled Guts pretty well. Guts even did a self-written module once and it was a bit odd but good. But then came the time that Gunther wanted to try his hand at a self-made story. He announced it after another session and I told him I was game and had a few of my many unused characters in mind to maybe play. He said it was cool. Just a day or two later I messaged him about it and he says I would have to make a new character now because of changes to how the characters were supposed to be made. After some questions, I discovered that Guts had basically strong-armed Gunther into giving us more of the primary character creation resource of the system than any sane person could find useful or interesting. I told him exactly that. It's not even the way to make an interesting OP character. He said that Guts had instead. So I made a very weird character that was way too good at everything because hey, for a one-shot, why not? I'll tell you why not. Okay, so as it turns out, a lot of players, unless it's I guess it was a one-shot to be fair, but even then, a lot of players don't like the ability to have all this overpowered shtick. It kind of takes away from the feeling of progress and starting from the bottom, now we're here. I found that out the hard way as a GM, but I'll talk about that a little bit afterwards. We get together and everybody else has immensely OP characters that they're not really happy with because they're all kind of boring, but we're ready to start. It's generally solid for a first outing. It has the forceful stuff everybody'd hoped wouldn't be there, but Gunther is solid, with one other condition. He can't control Guts. For the whole session, as soon as anybody does anything, he jumps in and tries, usually successfully, to steal the spotlight and do things we wanted to do. It got so bad that he just talked over us several times. Regardless, we get to the lair of evil cultists who stole the MacGuffin from other bad guys and are currently in the midst of sacrificing several virgins to an archdemon. We fight our way in, easily of course, but at one point Guts rolls a liturgy, aka a divine spell, and says it goes off, and I, absent-mindedly, seeing his sheet and die say, no, that's an 18, about a roll he might have misread. He failed that roll, because in the dark eye, you roll low to succeed, but he insists it was successful. Confusion ensues, but after several minutes of Guts pretending to not understand what our problem is, it is revealed that he was using different stats than the rules demanded for his liturgies, and a few other things the entire evening. His explanation was literally that he was unhappy with the stats of the most OP character ever made, and felt like it wasn't a big deal to change that in his obvious favor. We tell him to stop doing it. He looks at Gunther and begins whining about how unrealistic standards are, how his character is supposed to be powerful. Gunther looks at Reinhardt and then me in his field of view and we both slightly shake our head. Both Reinhardt and Alfred are much closer to him out of the game, but at this point even they are annoyed. Gunther looks back at Guts, who is still complaining, and caves. Guts keeps cheating, basically. Alright, this is where, as a GM, you need to put your foot down. You're ruining the fun for everybody else. They're already bored because they're playing overpowered characters and nothing is a challenge for them. And rather than doing something interesting like slightly nerfing them or having an interesting encounter, or hell, even going beyond that, talking about the table itself, instead of just informing the person that you can't do this and having everybody maybe have some more fun by being legitimate with their roles, you just simply let him keep going on. We get close to the central chamber and can hear the ritual chanting and screams for help. Guts, for some reason, wants to take a route away from the chamber with an unclear end because he just knows without looking that it leads to a rear entrance that is unguarded. Alfred and Reinhardt start arguing with him. I ask Gunther if I can assume we have time for a discussion. He tells me no, pretty clearly. They keep arguing. I ask them to stop and take action, twice. They keep arguing. I tell Gunther that I run in and stop the cultists from killing a virgin, with several already dead. So naturally Guts loses his shit again. He starts insulting me and my character again, makes fun of me for having negative character traits, of my weight, etc, etc, etc. I look at my stuff, ready to leave. Alfred and Reinhardt ask me silently not to, and to their credit, they finally tell Guts clearly to calm down and behave, so we finish the game. The next day though, I told the group I wouldn't play with Guts anymore, and I've never played the game with any of them since. How a person can be so absolutely obsessed with being the greatest imaginary dude, and so completely unaware of how wrong his self-image is, will both baffle me and not baffle me forever. The one good thing that came out of this is my character. I rebuilt her as a normal person and still play her. She's a cat burglar out of boredom from the upper echelons of the decadent Caribbean-style society, and she recently, yesterday in fact, became a pirate. TLDR. Completely self-unaware player strong-arms first-time DM into ridiculous rule change. Still fails at character creation and then cheats to compensate. Wow. Okay. Buckle in, boys. Until Down Till Dare's got a little bit of a tail. Being the first of a GM, first we're going to talk about the GM, it is understandable that he wanted to appease the players in any way possible. I felt that he tried to go about appeasing the players the way a lot of people do. More control, more overpowered stuff, more powerful magic means more fun for the players, right? They get to do more stuff and they get to kind of walk through everything. And maybe for the first 10 minutes it's fun, but you ever just play a game with God mode on and there's no challenge, so you're just like, why am I playing this? That's kind of what happens in these kind of situations. And with what sounds like a not too compelling narrative to go on, just a kind of generic storyline with virgin sacrifices and archdemons being summoned, it kind of seems like it lost its luster. Now we're going to talk about goats. Having a flawed character makes the narrative and the story of whatever tabletop you're playing, as long as it's a role-playing tabletop, so much richer. The idea that a character can be a successful adventurer or a hero even though he can't read, or he's not too intelligent, or maybe he's not even strong or can't fight, definitely makes things interesting. But besides that, Goats is also just kind of a piece of shit player from the sound of it. All this is all I have to go with for this man's personality. He seems abrasive, very irrational, and for some reason has these insane power fantasies to be the perfect living man and be, well, you know, doing horrible things to women. And it is vile, despicable, but moving away from that, if you want to be a perfect character, I feel like this all goes back to the group. If you want to be a perfect character, make sure everybody in your party also is okay with it, or if they all want to be perfect characters. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be interested though, because that's boring. But if that's what makes you happy, go play Skyrim with God mode on, or go play Smash Bros with a level 1 CPU, or do something, or play by yourself, write a story, right? If Goats goes and, you know, totally pushing out that really disgusting, horrible shtick that he seems into. If he goes and writes a story about, like, I am Chad Mongrel, the Virgin Slayer. I have an 18-pack, pectorals the size of boulders, and I have a broadsword that can kill gods. It's like, all right, go write it, whatever. Just don't shove it in my face. I'm not gonna read it. I'm sure somebody else will, right? But whatever. Anyway, going to a quick story, because this has already probably gone over longer than it should have. I did have a player that anytime there was supposed to be spotlight, a good example was we were playing a game where we were inside of a haunted cabin on top of a mountain, frozen, very scary. And my character was an academic who wanted to know why his partner ended up being absolutely mutilated when they were trying to discover how to slow down the aging process for humans. And they found out that they were inside of a haunted cult cabin, and it turned out that my character's partner, you know, he found this out by going into a bed locker that belonged to him and finding this old decrepit note and reading it, and basically having my character's partner admit that he was part of the cult and a horribly evil dude. And my guy was having a breakdown, and right before my character could say anything, a new player said, I grabbed that paper from him and read it out loud. So she basically took the spotlight away from my character, who was gonna have this horrible breakdown and maybe have other players come in and be like, hey man, it's okay. And instead, just didn't want to show the spotlight. So, you know, it happens, but it's good to rotate spotlight for players. Anyway, I hope you guys appreciated this video. It was a lot of fun to talk about and make. Hey, didn't take 3 months this time, right? Took 2. We improving, boys. Anyway, if you guys enjoy it, if you guys like this, then, I mean, I don't know, you can like and subscribe. But again, I'm not really looking to get big on this channel. However, if you are interested in the footage you are seeing in the background, I stream Persona 5. I stream it at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. I hope that's correct. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays are the concrete ones, and sometimes I stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you want to follow me on there, we can have a chit chat, have a fun time. You can laugh at my weird mouth movements because whenever I think, I make weird faces for some reason. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys for listening, and this is Up Tilt Down Tilt Dare Resetting Neutral, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later!
Show me your true form.
I said like, oh, I could feel he's leveling up 30 minutes ago, it feels like. More like 10, but still, whatever. Alright, he's gonna level up now. I can feel it, look. Ah! Oh my god! I'm one with my persona. Holy shit.